Hey guys! I have a few aquarium tutorials on my channel, and one of the questions I have gotten quite a few times is what you can do if you don't have resin. There are some ways you can make aquariums with no forms of liquid, so I'm going to show you one of those methods today. First we're going to make the aquarium itself, and so I first took a piece of wood and then cut out the base. Next you want to take some plastic from some packaging or something similar and make the sides of the tank. Paint the base using black acrylic paint. Glue that in place. I also made a simple background using watercolors and watercolor pencils. Basically, I'm just putting some blue color onto the paper. You don't have to worry about being accurate, it's just meant to look kind of abstract. Cut that out and glue it to the back. Next I added some white craft sand to the bottom. And then for the fun part, the decorations, so I first took some green clay and cut out some leaves, and then added texture using a pointy dotting tool. I do want to make a quick note for those of you who keep asking about the sculpting bases I use. I am going to be putting some up on my website either at the end of this month or the beginning of October, so keep an eye out for that if you're interested. Bunch them up and then bake. And after baking I added some shading using acrylic paint. I made some smaller leaves and added texture using a needle tool. And just like with the first plant, I added some shading using acrylic paint. I also used some pink clay to make some sort of anemone, and I know those are not typically found in this sort of aquariums, but if you are using or keeping a fake one, it doesn't really matter. I also added some preserved moss and princess pine, and for the princess pine, just to lighten it, I did add some acrylic paint on top. If you want, you can make some simple rocks using some grey clay. One of the questions I've gotten quite a few times on my other videos is why I don't just use real rocks, and the reason why is because a small rock or pebble in real life is not necessarily going to have the right shape or texture that you would want for a miniature aquarium. One thing you may notice is that I'm keeping this clean line in the center without any decorations, and you'll see why in just a second. For the fish, I'm using a mix of white and translucent clay, and I'm sculpting them on the tip of a piece of metal, just to be able to sculpt both sides. After baking, I then colored them using acrylic paint and Pearl X pigment. And for the pigment, I mixed it in with the glaze when applying it. One thing you can do is glue the fish onto any of the decorations and plants, which is going to give kind of like the illusion of them floating. I did do that for one of the fish, and then for the other two fish I added them to a sheet of the same plastic I used for the tank. Once added to the aquarium, this is going to be invisible from the front. It is going to be visible from the top and slightly visible from the sides, although you don't really notice it that much. And as for the top, I added a piece of wood that I painted using black acrylic paint, just to camouflage it. And that's basically it. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.